Franklin County Commissioners meeting, July 12th, 2017.
Now we're up. Good morning. It is 9 o'clock. We're here for our Wednesday, July 12th board meeting. And join me with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome. Our first item on the agenda this morning is public comment. We have some public discussion.
Looks like me, huh?
Looks like you're up. You're public.
That's pretty good.
How's that for service? Top of the agenda.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I have to say my name every time I come up, right?
Yeah,
Yes, please.
Okay. Dr. Alan Leo.
That's so that people 50 years from now can know who it was that came in and
That
brought this
knucklehead.
issue.
That was good. I came to discuss the property on 4604 Wernette Road with y'all and Lauren. These weeds are taller than the windows. And if I may, just a quick second.
Yeah, Lauren just showed, Rick and I the pictures, and it's gone out the third notice, and it's heading to the prosecutors. So.
Now, this is the house on 4711. We're down the road, down the street, same block.
This one is?
This one here. Now, if you look at the windows, boarded up, but they're still there. And what got my attention was I go, they got a dog. And I don't know what these people are doing. And I go, I know it's against the law. You have to have an escape route to get out in case of a fire. But they got these signs. There's no trespassing signs. Two of them, 2 pieces of plywood on each side of the drive. You know, so.
The address again?
4711, Wernette.
Thank you. You bet.
As far as that one property, I don't know, that 4604 with the weeds. I just got my tax statement yesterday, like everybody else probably. Weren't too happy with it, going up the way it did. And they're assessing my house compared to the houses that are on 84 and Road 104. And we can't do that. It was built in the 50s. I go, how can you do that? Well, because people are buying in Pasco. So I fall under that jurisdiction there of that, how they assess it. But to live across like the house like this for as many years as we have, and all the neighbors have immaculate yards, we all clean up. It's a shame that we're the ones that take the hit on this thing. If I wanted to sell my house today, they're going to look across the street and go say, I don't think so. And I just want you gentlemen, something's got to be done here. Something has to be done.
So clearly it sounds like there's two issues here. One's a code enforcement issue, which Lauren's already working on.
Yes, sir.
The other is an assessed valuation where you think that your valuation is set too high. And of course, the assessor, an independent elected official, has a process in which you can go to them and say, I think it's too high and here's why.
Right.
And get that reviewed. So you're familiar with all that process.
I am. I already started that process with them.
Right.
Yeah, I spoke with them yesterday.
Okay.
Do we have any general idea of where we're at with the speed? I mean, because people ain't ramping that. They're not going down at speed. They're going up at speed. I mean, is there any kind of progress report from Matt that?
He's right there.
Oh, I actually didn't see.
Matt, I'm sorry. You know what? I would have turned around to you and I would have asked you.
I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
You're in disguise there.
I'm sure in the course of the meeting, we'll be talking to Mr. Mahoney. We can bring that up and ask him what he's got for us.
Very good, very good. Well, that's my comments for today, my public comments.
Appreciate you taking time to come and talk to us. Not many people do.
That's why I'm here. Thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Hector. With that, any other public comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to the office business, payroll and warrant registers.
Okay, vouchers. We will start with last week's expenditures when we didn't have a full quorum and we didn't have a meeting as a result. They were pre-signed by Mr. Miller who came in. I appreciate that. So this is to formally approve the 7/5/17.
What happens when you have it done?
No, when you tell me I talk too much and too loud, I move the mic away, and now I got to bring it back. So I guess we'll find a happy medium. Okay, so move for approval of fund expenditures for July 5th, 2017. Total amount of $617,964.69, and these have been reviewed and signed in the auditor's office and also by the county administrator.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, and the remainder of these are all for today, July 12th. Move for approval of fund expenditures in total amount of $349,446.33. Also reviewed and signed by two representatives of the auditor's office and the county administrator.
I will second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye. Continuing on, move for approval of county road and motor vehicle expenditures. These are payroll, total amount of $118,785.66, reviewed and signed off by two people in the auditor's office.
I will second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And lastly, we have salary clearing payroll, emergency management payroll. Move for approval in the total amount of $942,858.42 as presented, and note that it's also been reviewed and signed off by two representatives of the auditor's office.
I will second that motion.
So all in favor?
Aye.
With that, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, we've got 10 items on the consent agenda today. Move for approval with discussion.
I will second.
Discussion.
Carly, the clerk position, step 3, is the one we discussed, 2 meetings ago?
Yes,
Okay. No change from when we discussed it?
there's no change from the consensus that the board gave 2 weeks ago.
Great. And Lauren, these final approvals on these subdivisions, just for my memory and for the record, since our computer link was down and we didn't have the documents to read ahead, I just want to make sure I'm remembering the right project. So would you just, in a sentence or two, tell me what 1602 and 1605 were?
The Regent Riverview and, I forgot the name of the other one.
Mr. Mullins'
You get a little help over on this side of the room.
property.
Randy, these are your two.
The Reserve River Ranch and the Regent River Ranch.
These are your properties, just this side of the homestead up on the river?
Yes.
Okay, all right. I thought they were, it's been a while. I wanted to make sure we had the right ones. What's that?
Yeah, just north of that.
Right. Okay.
I have one that I couldn't bring up yesterday is Matt, that Basin City transportation, it wouldn't come up on the internet. Help me out, what's that all about?
This was the project that we received additional funding. This is the Basin City crosswalk with the pedestrian.
Oh, okay,
Way up there, and this supplement is now obligating the funds necessary to continue moving forward.
Yeah. Okay, I kind of thought that's what it was, but we couldn't bring it up. They wouldn't bring it. It wouldn't open.
Okay. I brought a spare copy if you would like to look at it.
Okay, thanks.
Hey, Matt, on number 7, the public assistance grant between Franklin County and Washington Military and FEMA, I've heard that there may be some delays in getting those funds. This particular package, is this reimbursement for storm damage road repair?
Correct.
Okay, and so this is, who's paying on this one, the state or FEMA?
This would come through FEMA, but it gets obligated as usual through WSDOT, WSDOT.
Okay, so it's federal FEMA money and it's going through WSDOT?
Correct.
Okay, there's other reimbursements that we haven't gotten yet that are maybe taking time to come through?
Yeah, we're working with both FEMA and FHWA to try to get this.
Okay. The reason I ask is that this looks like very similar to the ones that we haven't received yet, and it's, to me, an indicator that the process is working, it's just slow.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure, because if this one went through and the others didn't, and there was a problem with the others, we'd want to know what that was.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, no other questions.
Commissioner Miller, questions?
I have none. We covered what you guys discussed there, the one we couldn't see. Everything's good.
With that, we have a motion and a second with discussion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Just going to ask Lauren if we had a final plat. There it is.
Here's the other binder. Thanks.
Keith, what do you have for us today while we're finishing these up?
I don't have a lot this morning, Commissioners. Just a reminder that July 26th, our normal board meeting has been canceled due to lack of quorum. And we also confirmed the date for our bi-county meeting with the Benton County Board of Commissioners, which will be held here in Franklin County, August the 14th, 9 a.m. That is our meeting to have a presentation from Brad Banks to give us an update on the state of affairs at the state level regarding delivery of mental health services, looking forward to 2020. I think other than that, Sharon, is there anything else that I needed to cover this morning? The other board, that was it.
I will be working with IS.
Yeah, we've had a glitch in our commissioner's website. IS is working on correcting that. Hopefully that will not be a delayed fix, but we had that glitch, so you weren't able to get online and do all your duty head material. Try to get that fixed as quick as we can.
So, Bob, you probably know this. Brad Banks used to be with Wasac. Is he still? Still. Okay.
Yeah. So he's one of the affiliates of Wasac.
Say that again, please.
He's one of I forget the acronym but he's been with Wasac for a number of years, but it's under one of the affiliates of Wasac.
So help me out, please. Is he a Wasac employee, or is he a head of an organization that has a relationship with Wasac?
The former.
Okay, so he works directly for Wasac as one of their subject matter experts. Okay, so he'll be here speaking as a Wasac person. Okay.
So the last thing is, early on in the year, there was some discussion about one or more than one of you attending the NACO conference in, interestingly enough, Franklin County, Ohio. And I understand your schedule is not permitting that. I had not planned on attending that either. I can make myself available to go if the board feels like we need to be either represented in some capacity, or if there's something that's going on at that conference that is essential that we attend. I'm not necessarily encouraging that we do that. I'm not anxious to go, but if the board feels compelled to make sure that we're represented in some capacity, I can schedule to attend part of that. So I'll just leave that.
Just throwing that out there, huh?
I've got a lot going on here. I prefer to be here, but there's a need for us to attend. I know you're unable to. So.
Well, I had planned on going since I think I'd mentioned it late last year. And when the agenda finally got delivered, I looked at it and I could only find like 2 things on there for the whole week that I really thought had significant bearing for us, and just decided it wasn't worth the investment of public money to go. If I need that information, I can call them or get their notes or something. You, on the other hand, if you wanted to go to something like that, being relatively new as a county administrator, a couple of years, I think there's tremendous network value to pick the brains of other county administrators elsewhere in the county and the country. So while I didn't see a lot of value for me to go necessarily, if you wanted to go, I could certainly support it, but it's not something I think is essential.
I would feel the same way. I think the opportunity where none of us is going, I think this would be a good shot for you to go and maybe experience it if you would like. I don't think we should demand you to go, but if you feel like it's important to go, and even though you see agendas, a lot of subcommittees, a lot of different things going on that you may see as being very beneficial, and the networking is also good. So I think at this point, I would suggest leave it up to you what you would like to do, and you could go if you so choose.
I'll maybe look into flights and just kind of see what's available, but probably will not plan on attending unless you get a good deal on driving.
I think if I had a choice between that and you going to one of the Western Interstate, I think I'd rather have you go to the Western Interstate.
Yeah, I probably agree with that.
It's probably more relevant to
Yeah,
us.
it's more relevant.
Also, I think, Keith, at this time, you're going to have a hard time getting a room.
Yeah, I'll be
That's
commuting from
Yeah,
It's Chicago.
it's kind of late. We should have discussed this a month ago if we were going to.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that
I think a month ago, we didn't know that everybody had decided not to go then, so.
And also, generally with the room, there'll be people dropping out. I'm sure you'll find one that may not be the closest and the one at the convention center, but, it's just, just
rusting accommodations before.
Yeah.
Horse pastures.
Yeah. All right, that's all I had to cover.
Keith, is there anything on the architect and the old jail updating? Anything?
Yeah, they're actively bringing in engineers and architects and experts to assess where we are. That work's not complete. It's going to take a little time to get through all of that, but they're in the process of doing that.
And they're working hand in hand with the sheriff's department?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Commander Saltmeyer is very much hands-on engaged in that process, keeping me apprised of developments as they occur, and I have direct access to the architects as well.
Sounds good.
All right. Any other comments? We have another place for public comment. Nothing today.
Anything going on in the county there, Sheriff?
Oh, we spent yesterday out on Jake Road, I think it's called. Inspected marijuana.
Across the highway from Booker's?
No.
Oh, up north off of
We'll
Hendricks.
get up there, that's what you're talking about there. Jake Road's on the PK Highway.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's like altogether 13 rows out there in that little valley. We got the first 4 done looking at them. Lots of compliance issues. A lot of code enforcement issues. So the next time we go out to the remaining 11 rows, we got to look at. Do we have code enforcement officer looking at?
We do.
Okay, we'll take them.
Yeah.
He works for Lauren Filtzy in planning.
Lots of odd things. People living in trailers, water from one piece of property to the next piece of property to the next piece of property being ran. Lots of code type of violations. Need to do those things. Then we'll go from there up to Markville Road, which is the next big problem. It's time for us to do that. We get certain warrants. Kind of a biggie right now.
So good morning, Mr. Link. We have a short meeting today. We've got extra time. Anything you want to share with the board? This is a good day to do it.
Just take the faith still live in the county, so that's
You mean in the unincorporated part of the county?
correct.
As in you haven't been annexed yet?
Well, past our 2 days, so that's good.
Yeah. Okay.
Commissioners?
Point out that Matt may want to comment on the last major section of road repair that's taking place for the winter storm damage out of Ironwood.
Yeah, that's correct.
Piece of paving that.
Yeah, good news, we're done.
Well, that's probably something we want to get into the microphone. So Ironwood was the one that was probably the worst. They had whole sections completely gone, and you guys just put a few cones on it, nothing else, right?
Yeah, well, I think three sets of barricades that people had to drive through, around, over.
Oh, you had barricades in addition to the cones?
Yes, we did.
Must have been a bad road.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was finished up last week, so we're right now just really finalizing paperwork, working directly with FEMA to make sure that we're providing them everything they need. Of course, it used to be easy. They used to come with an open checkbook. Nowadays, I think since Hurricane Katrina, they've learned a few things, and now certainly the requirements for documentation are a lot higher. Luckily, we were able to implement the cost accounting system prior to all of this, and they've been extremely happy with the documentation that we're able to provide them. But it's still being able to break things down to the nth degree. They don't want just, we fix this type of damage from this milepost to milepost. They want us to actually break it down into separate areas within that range, and we're
separate geographic areas.
Correct.
And probably also gravel versus asphalt versus something else.
Yeah, and their determination is just ensuring that they're not fixing something that they're not paying for something that lack maintenance.
Even a gravel road for us.
Yeah, or lack maintenance, things that we, so they're checking our maintenance records as well, and of course.
How far down did we take that, Matt? For example, if we had a lot of water runoff on a gravel road and it costs us to have to go in and add a little gravel and regrade it, not a big deal, but did we go down and capture that level of detail too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
So.
And so you said Ironwood is being paved this week?
Ironwood was paved last Thursday.
Oh, it was paved last, okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So
you got any other pieces? Is that it?
That is it. You know, we're just right now trying to catch up on some of our grading, but this is a bad time of year to be grading. I'm sure any of our friends out in the farming community would tell you that. So it's pretty much just reviewing our roads, our gravel roads, and really only trying to repair those areas that need to be repaired. We're trying to fall back and not do things like we always did in the past and grade roads just because it's part of our schedule and our rotation. We're really just focusing on areas that need to be repaired. And if the rest of the road is in good condition, we're leaving it. I think that's the number one complaint I've received about gravel roads is it's in great shape and then you come out and grade it. So we're listening and learning and trying to provide the maintenance that our residents out there are demanding, and they deserve that. So just trying to catch up on all that. We're almost done with our chip seal. We'll be done with, we're just doing some minor work right now, but our major chip seal work is complete, and then I'll be working with Keith. We do have currently an interlocal agreement with the city of Mesa, and they've asked us to do some chip seal of their roads internally, so I'll be coming to Keith with that information.
What roads did you chip seal this year, man?
What's that?
What roads did you chip seal?
Oh my goodness, I knew you were going to ask me that.
Major, I guess.
This year, not a lot of major roads. The probably our major roads were more in the Connell area. Spent some time in the irrigation blocks, but not a lot there. So it wasn't like we were doing Glade North, Taylor Flats, or Pasco Clotis this year, R170. So
bits and pieces around the north end.
So Matt, we didn't give you any heads up. I'll understand if you don't have the latest, but can you give us anything on Peterson? Or, excuse me, on the new road into Juniper Dunes?
Yeah, I mean, we're everything right now is in right-of-way acquisition process, and we're moving forward, seeing some good progress there. So, you know, we're still very hopeful that and believe that we can be starting the construction phase this year with it being finalized the first part of next year at springtime. So,
well, if you would please give Keith a heads up a week or two before you think that's going to happen, so that he can clue us in. Cause
yes, absolutely.
There are some folks out there that ask me on a regular basis, and I want to make sure they know.
Yes, we'll definitely do that.
Okay.
I would say also, I was able to spend the better part of the day with the chip seal crew a couple weeks ago. And
you did?
Yeah.
Matt, he's not going to want new boots, is he?
No.
Remember the boot
I ruined my
discussion?
boots. we told everybody, whatever you do, Craig, county engineer, told everybody, whatever you do, don't stand on the mat. And for some reason, my boots were covered with oil. I don't know what I did to do that,
but I would just commend the crew for how hard they work and less than ideal weather conditions sometimes when it's been really hot, but just how well they work together. They're very much a coordinated team and should be commended for the work they do on behalf of the county.
Yeah, and on behalf of the crew, they'd like to thank Carly for her help. She actually went to work out there. And
I saw the photos. I wouldn't have believed it otherwise.
we made sure that she had the proper personal protective equipment, and they put her to work. And hopefully I believe she enjoyed it. They enjoyed having it. They love what they do, and they love showing people what they do. So it was.
They didn't let her drive any machinery, did they?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, she managed
the chip spreader.
Chip spreader for quite a while, actually.
I'm sure she managed the whole operation for a while.
Yeah.
That's the nature of leaders. That's a compliment.
Yeah. No, it's good to see. In the future, anybody that wants to even see that operation, it is a pretty major operation. I certainly will take everybody out. It's the one operation that we do that in a month, when you look at total expenditures against the county road fund, is about $1 million. So it's with the oil, rock, materials, just the equipment, and the personnel. It's certainly our major maintenance activity.
And it continues, Matt, in your opinion, to be a good investment instead of paving a smaller amount? I realize it's a form of paving, but a true asphalt long-term road is a lot more expensive.
Yeah, once you pave a road, this is the accepted maintenance of that road, making sure that it's sealed and water doesn't get in. And you've had conversations about that and been right on. So yeah, I mean we're still working, and we'll continue to work to come up with a program where we can start biting off some of the remaining 397 miles of gravel road that we have to start getting paved.
I guess the better way to pose the question, I didn't do it very well, is there's always a tension and a trade-off between how much we put into chip seal, how much we put into paving,
correct,
new paving. And so that's always a balance.
Yeah.
And obviously, if you don't maintain the existing asphalt, you pay for it later. But we're always getting people asking when's this gravel road going to get paved?
Well, as you know, the way that our department operated in the past was they tried to do what they called a 7-year cycle, and they would go in and chip seal and try to do it in areas. And what you're seeing us do is a little bit more jumping, where we're doing some roads in the north part of the county, doing some roads in the south. It's a little bit more in mobilization. But what we're not doing is we're not chip sealing roads that don't need to be chip sealed in this way. And that, in turn, is saving us.
So the drivers need not geography and minimizing mobilization.
Yeah. In the past, they would just go into one geographical area and they would shoot every road whether it needed it or not. And so those are areas that we still want to be strategic, but in the same token, if a road that doesn't have high average daily traffic and doesn't have the cracks and is a good road, for us to spend the money chip sealing it like they've done in the past doesn't make sense, especially if we can get it 5 years down the road. So those are areas there that we've changed and will continue to work to refine, so that hopefully we see a reduction in the cost of chip seal from year to year. So we doing things when they actually need to be done, as opposed to doing them just because we're there, which will in turn free up the money to really start paving some of these roads that need to be paved.
So we've had some complaints about gravel roads getting narrower from taking gravel out of the borrow ditch and bringing it back up. I know you've been watching that, and our policy is still that we're not cutting those deep borrow ditches anymore. We're going with a much more gradual slope, right?
Correct. I mean, our goal is to import material as opposed to rob it, as they call, borrow it out of the ditches. And
Right.
you know, that's a process. The narrow roads is twofold. Certainly, we take responsibility for some of those roads when we're borrowing. We don't go farther out in the field. Some of it's just farming practice. We want the farmers to be able to farm as much as they can. So we work directly with them when we do need to widen the road. We don't go out there and start widening the road and tearing up alfalfa or asparagus or whatever else they're growing. So some of those where we're trying to get the width back, we'll be working directly with the specific farmer, and when their crops are out and they have them, then we can go in there and add the necessary width and rock that we need to.
But
A lot of the problem was years past was the size of the roads for the old, six-wheelers. The wheat trucks, for instance, on the dry land side, they were just 20-foot roads or 18-foot maybe.
Yeah.
And now they're running semis with pups behind them, trying to pass each other out there, and it's a whole different farming style.
And the equipment's getting wider, and that's why it's become a necessity for us to widen bridges, replace bridges, so that they can get their farm equipment, whether it be, like right now we're just starting to hit the wheat harvest, and and you got the big independent harvesting companies that are in town, and even when they break this equipment down, it's still fairly wide. So it's important with the new equipment, new vehicles, new trucks, that we get these roads widened.
Well, there's a balance there, of course. You make the roads wider, they're going to make the equipment bigger. So we're going to balance those two. But I just wanted to confirm that we are no longer cutting those deep borrow ditches. We are going to a shallow 3-4 degree slope, and we're importing material. Do we still are we still using the county-owned gravel road up off the end of Columbia River Road there where the canal dumps?
We don't. That's a primitive road. That's listed as a primitive road for Franklin County, so we do very little maintenance down there whatsoever.
No, I'm not talking about the maintenance of it. Are we still using that county-owned gravel pit along the canal?
Oh, yes. You're talking, I'm sorry. We still refer to that as the 68 pit back when Columbia River Road was 68. I apologize.
Well, call it the 68 pit.
Yes.
Are you still taking gravel out of there?
Yes, we still utilize that for a lay-down yard, for storage, and for borrow material. We don't actively crush in there, but it does have a lot of really good soils in there that we're using on
fill material.
Okay. And
I asked because we buy materials every year for roads, and I have seen that pit many times from the air flying over and
Yes.
thought, how come I never see any equipment in there? I never see anything going on. So, okay, so we're still using it.
Yes, we are.
So I've called you a couple times just in the last 2 months about some of the, what is it, magnesium chloride that they spray on the field.
Yes.
And the complaints of what it does to undertow and pickup, especially when it's wet.
Yes.
And have you talked to any of those people that I have?
Yeah, I think.
Culver Road,
Yeah, I think the mistake that we made is we don't have the appropriate signs, and so what we do is kind of put out wet oil signs. So everybody thinks it's oil, and they fill it up. When you first put it down, it is a salt-based product. It's magnesium chloride. It's actually no different than what we put down on bridges in the state. Every jurisdiction uses that during the winter for de-icing, anti-icing. The only difference of what we're putting down on the roads for what we call base stabilization or dust abatement is really more diluted version of what we use for icing and de-icing. So
it binds with the dust and the water molecules.
Correct.
To give a stronger base, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
And it does need to set up, and we go out there and we sign at 35. We have had incidents where people have come out and drove much faster than that and pilled it up. We've had a gentleman do a few Brodies in the middle of our road to try to prove a point. It does do that, but people claiming that they can't get it off, it's really just, it's no different than any of the other products, and now with the vehicles, your undercarriage is treated against those types of things. So I'm not sure when we talk to people, I always have to go, are you talking about chip seal, or are you talking about where the magnesium chloride's been put down? They say magnesium, and then I try not to be rude or disrespectful, but let them know what that product is, and that it certainly
need to get Kenny busy to make some new signs.
Yes.
For one.
That is one, yes,
and,
we are doing
the
that.
other is this person that was out proving a point on the road. Was that something they did in the presence of our workers and our crews? Or?
Yes, they did it.
So it was observed.
Mm-hmm. And I believe the sheriff, his staff responded to that. So.
How recent was that?
That was just, I believe it was last year.
Yeah, last year.
You remember last year, the year before? But I do want to say this year this is one of those areas that we have cut. The only dust palliative that has gone down, the magnesium chloride, is through the county's permit system. And that's where we allow people through a permit process. The board has done that through policy. When they submit a permit and it meets all the guidelines, they can pay for it themselves. What we do is we go out and prep it, meaning we will grade it, add water, and then they hire the company and pay the company to come in and put down the magnesium chloride based on our specifications, based on the county specifications. So that's the only magnesium that's gone down this year.
Ballpark, what does that cost the private community to hire somebody to come in and lay that down?
It's approximately about the same as us. It's about $200 less than $200 a ton. A ton, I believe, goes about a mile. So, I mean, usually for them with the mobilization and all that, probably $1,000 to $1,500 for an application. So I might be speaking wrong. I'll probably want to verify.
A mile?
Yes, most of them don't want to do a mile.
Maybe you could check and just shoot us all the same email.
Yes,
just
absolutely.
saying, approximate cost for a private individual, because I get that question occasionally. Dogwood, Dayton, some of those
Correct.
roads, and I know they've done it in the past. They just didn't have a good sense. And when they ask, I'd like to be able to say, I think it tends to run somewhere in the vicinity of X amount per half mile, or some gauge that I can give them.
And this year's probably been tough for them because usually they can work directly with the company that we contract with to do our work. And this year, of course, we
You can just give us a ballpark, because I understand what piece we do. I just don't know what a cost is to them, and I do get asked.
Correct. I'll get that too.
So this magnesium chloride, when it gets wet, is when the problem has been, according to these people. It really throws up under their vehicle And that's where I've heard the complaints, and I just wanted to make sure that because I do refer them to the departments, because she can explain it, because I really don't know the whole
Yeah,
thing.
it's like anything. If you drive, 35 miles an hour for chip seal and for magnesium chloride is the magic speed, and that's what we post it as when we do that. If you do go faster, it's like anything. It's going to pick up because it is still wet. It takes a little while for the product to really what we call, I guess the best way to put it is to set up. What we call is for it to cure turnover. Yeah. And once that happens, then as we know, it's like a concrete road out there, but until then, when we first put it down and it's wet, certainly at certain speeds, they can pick it up. And what they're probably seeing on their vehicle is wet, but the wet, salty materials that we have, whether those be silt or we do have some caliche and some clays in our material in this county. So
pretty hard to tell what it is just by looking at it.
Yeah.
If the excess speed is undoing expensive work that we're doing, it may be necessary to look at closures for a day until it cures or something, because it doesn't make sense for us to be spending public money to go out and treat a road and have people come through and essentially throw away that investment by tearing up the road.
Yeah, and what we found is and I'm sure the commissioners have gotten those calls. We're starting to identify certain areas where the people absolutely just don't want it. Unfortunately, those are areas where landowners have submitted permits, and it's permit work. And to deny them the ability when it meets county policy, that's a struggle that we're trying to deal with. So I think it's one of those things where we're just trying to educate people, but we do understand in those areas that the county does. We do it because there's an economic benefit for doing it, and we try to weigh that against.
There is, unless people go in and tear it up.
Correct.
Before it has a chance to set, and that's kind of where I'm focused right now. Is I'd ask you to look at your process, and if that's becoming a problem, you spend a whole bunch of money to treat a road, and somebody comes in and tears it up. You've just thrown away a bunch of taxpayer money.
Yeah.
As much as I don't like road closures, I'd rather close it for 24 hours to let it set up and cure.
Yes.
Just a thought.
I think the complaint that I have had and we've talked about it, is like Alder Road, but I think there was a clay underlayment laid down there years ago that every time it rains, it had really nothing to do with the chloride. It's just a clay base that lets it's slippery, and it's like going through a pile of manure.
Yeah, I think there was I think you're right. There's been some attempts in the past from our department to try to figure out the best way to bind up the gravels on gravel roads, and I'm aware of in the past that they have actually imported clay on some of the roads, and that's an activity that
doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Because you're right, when it gets wet, it becomes a slippery mess anyways, and then and anybody who's familiar with magnesium chloride and it being a 50% dilution and then adding that, it can be, I don't know the best way to explain it without coming across being crude, but in the term we use, it can be kind of snotty, and so we do understand that, but like I said, there is a huge benefit for the county, and of course for the landowners through the permit process of having a road next to their fields, houses that are completely set up and don't produce the amount of dust that gravel roads tend to produce, especially in the summer months. I mean, we could probably run 20 water trucks every day, 24 hours a day, and never keep up with keeping all of our gravel roads enough water in them. So,
Matt, do we use any soil cement, where they mix soil and Portland cement and then wet it to?
Yes,
instead of mag chloride.
Correct. Yes. And that's a process that we are.
Is that more cost effective than the mag chloride? It's probably better, but costs more.
It's definitely better and does cost a little bit more. And we have used that certainly, and then come back and chip sealed right over the top of it. And so probably a lot of, you don't even notice that it's there. And in our mind, that's an area that we're looking at to kind of come up with the best recipe
for our soils,
and to really to maybe at a less expensive cost to the county to get some of these gravel roads paved.
Well, that's what I was wondering. I've done a little bit of reading on soil cement and how it gets used, and it seems like our environment might be a good place to use it.
Yeah, I think a good area that we used it on was on Cruise Road, going down the hill to that first dairy.
I remember that. Yeah, that was about 3 years ago. Yeah. Okay.
So that's been a good test section, and it's an area that Craig and myself are looking at moving forward as being a good alternative, because you don't have to really add, if there's a good amount of rock there, you don't have to add more rock to it.
I want to thank you for educating us, updating us on all these issues, and most importantly, for pushing the meeting out to where Commissioner Cook cannot get the record for shortest meeting. He was trying.
Well, you know, I'm here to help in that respect. You get me talking, I'll talk forever.
That's right.
So I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
I'll be in Ellensburg tomorrow, interviewing for a new crab director. So by tomorrow night, we'll have a new director of the County Road Administration Board.
Is that at the courthouse there in Ellensburg?
No, it's just at a Days Inn or something. Okay. It's just a central part of the state to invite the applicants for an interviews.
I don't know if people have been noticing on the PILT change. We've been talking about it for a long time and what's going on in the House Committee. Put a report out yesterday and today in markup, and they are suggesting that that we cancel all existing contracts and go back to the original start of those things. And so it's probably going to be 50% of what the amount has been for us. So it's going to damage our budget a little bit. However, a lot of this does go to the sheriff, road departments, and to the schools. And I think we get about $100,000 for our operating budget. But looks like that's going to be something that's actually going to do. They want to be consistent, and they're going to go back to that set. So.
Yeah, I'm scheduled to attend a meeting with Benton County and a few other jurisdictions coming up in a week or two, just to talk about the latest Department of Energy on their PILT program.
Right. It's going to be interesting because most of the PILT stuff I'm hearing is out of the state legislature, not the federal. And what's going to happen with PILT payments at the federal level versus the state level, I think, are two different agendas and issues and efforts. We don't get much out of the federal PILT.
Right.
Benton County gets a lot.
Yep.
At the state level, we don't get a whole lot of PILT money either. Benton County gets more. And then the third category that could get unnoticed, and I don't know if it technically fits under PILT, but under the, I think it's 1957 Joint Operating Agency statutes for Washington. It was the state law that authorized essentially the creation of a municipal entity, state, not technically a state agency like Department of Ecology is a state agency, but our commercial nuclear power plant out here is really a municipal entity legally, but it is a joint operating agency under that 57 law, and it contains roughly 36 public utility districts in the state. The reason that's relevant to this discussion is because they pay essentially, in layperson's terms, they call it a generation tax. And it's a tax on the amount of electricity produced by the nuclear power station. And I don't know if there's an underlying legal premise that authorized that said that this is some sort of a payment in lieu of taxes. If it is, I could see it getting drawn into this PILT. And that is a large source of revenue to both counties, and most of it goes to schools, libraries, fire districts, those kinds of distributions. And so I would just ask you to have it in the back of your mind that that's another PILT-like sort of revenue stream, and I'd sure hate to see that get caught up in this.
So the House Energy water pill federal is a different one you're talking about.
What I'm talking about is strictly state of Washington.
Okay, a different one.
And it's not called a PILT, it's called a generation tax. And it's on the amount of electricity produced each year by Columbia Generating Station. I think last year it was, I don't know, back when I was working there a decade ago, it was a couple of million a year. Now it's, I think, probably double that, maybe more. And that goes to local communities and schools, libraries, fire districts, a lot of different places. I don't think it's technically PILT. I'm just concerned that the same arguments that might be used to reduce PILT might be used for that. And BPA receives all the power from the commercial power station, and they pay all the costs. So whether it fits under a federal payment or a state payment is yet another question. But I could see that it probably is federal. It probably could get lumped under PILT, and therefore we should watch it.
Anything else, gentlemen?
So no meeting on the 26th. We have one on the 19th.
Are you going to get a chance to go back to Oshkosh?
I try every year. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I think the last time I checked, the 26th of July is our 37th wedding anniversary. So going to Oshkosh could be fatal. As long as we're on the subject of personal business, and I hope this doesn't cross any lines. I don't think it does, but my property here in Pasco, Moore Mansion, Road 200 or Road 34, we are in the process of taking out 19 rather large pine trees that have gotten some pine shoot infestation, and so before they affect the neighbors' trees and or fall down, we're taking those out this week. So anybody that's listening to this wants large amounts of free firewood, come and get it. Take as much as you want. It's probably not something you'd want to burn in your in-home fireplace. It's pine and it's full of pitch, but it makes great campfire material. So just a thought. Thanks for the opportunity to use this platform. It's actually not mine. The tree service has to take it all away, so it doesn't save me anything. But if somebody wants some firewood, I'd hate to see it go in a grinder.
Is that right? If there's nothing else for the good of the board, we are adjourned. Thank you.
Happy birthday.